So it appears there's a little bit of a controversy of brewing. I'm not 100% what to think, but I wanted to discuss this with you guys a little bit. Hear what you have to say in the comments down below. So once you finish watching this video or you feel comfortable with what you got to say, let me know. Just type something up because I'm really curious how people are going to think and feel about this one. While you're here, hit that like button, subscribe, do all that wonderful stuff. So, back almost 2 weeks ago, Sonic Central was broadcast. A bunch of announcements. And one of them that I kind of was like, I don't know about. Sonic Origins, right? Going back to the root of Sonic the Hedgehog with, once again, another compilation of games, but this time with Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3, and Sonic CD. I still think there's a missed opportunity here. You're doing Sonic Origins, why not cover like all the 2D games, put all the Master System stuff on there, the Game Boy Advance stuff, but that's neither here nor there and not exactly what we're talking about today. So this kind of seemed just thrown into this presentation, this Sonic Central presentation. Like there wasn't much going on here. The voiceover for this video clip mentioned that there'll be additional features and stuff like that with this collection, and to stay tuned, it'll be releasing next year and there'll be more to announce before then, right? So more info coming soon. Pretty vague, just thrown together pretty quickly. It looks like the Sonic Origins logo there, not much to it, just some game covers and some gameplay. That's essentially all this little announcement was. Well, I spoke to my contact over at Pixelheart, which Pixelheart, they're an interesting company. They sell a lot of different games for various consoles, old and new, mind you. Dreamcast stuff, Nintendo Switch, 3DS, PlayStation, even Neo Geo. These guys do a lot of interesting things. And I had spoke to my contact with these guys that had brought up some issue with Sonic Origins, that this was their proposal to Sega, that it was a project that they came up with. And my initial reaction, just being honest with you, I was like, what's the controversy? Like, Sega owns Sonic the Hedgehog. They've released compilations before, right? But there's a little more to it than just that. So these guys did send out a proposal for Sonic Origins. I found that pretty interesting. They spoke to like an intermediary to communicate with Sega. They had a contact and whatnot. And this was back earlier in the beginning of this year, prior to Sonic Central airing. So they had a financial proposition. I do have part of that here with some stuff removed. Sonic Origins, and they were going to do a Dreamcast edition, 3DS, PS5, PS4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, pretty much everything, right? This was their proposal, but like I said, with some information removed here. I find that cool that they were talking about doing a Dreamcast edition and a 3DS version. The 3DS isn't even sold anymore. We've been struggling trying to get those refurbished 2DSs from Nintendo. The Dreamcast isn't sold anymore, but you guys know a lot of these retro consoles still, a lot of people are into them. A lot of people want to play games on them. And to get a newer collection could be kind of cool for some people. Sure, there's tons of other ways to play these games. But yeah, a lot of people are into this, getting some physical media. Dreamcast, that would have been kind of interesting, right? But it looks like they were proposing 5,000 units for the Dreamcast for every region, PAL, US, and Japan. And then they had a deluxe edition. We'll take a look at what the deluxe edition proposed in a moment. They didn't have quantities for the standard edition because I'm sure, standard edition, especially digital and, physical releases, the standard edition, whatever. It was more so the Dreamcast and 3DS, like, hey, we could do a limited run of this, right? So this was way back, like I said, earlier in the year. There's another YouTuber that they talked to who's a French YouTuber by the name of Conquerax. They spoke to him about the project. I guess they have connections with him. And they sent all this stuff back and forth, right? So let's take a look back at these slides here. They came up with a logo. As you noticed in that video, they didn't really have a logo for this game at all. It was just some basic font, right? But hey, it is what it is. So this is what they sent out to, hype up the project to get approval. I think this is pretty cool. You know, they had two parts to the Dreamcast collection. So one would have had Sonic 1, 2, and Sega Sonic CD, and then the other Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 3. It looks like the way they had that set up. And there's the limited numbers for everything. That was a limited series of 15,000. And then the deluxe series, they have a limited of 3,000 worldwide. And this was just all pre, like, you know, getting approval and whatnot. And then they had this limited one that came with like a solid gold 24 karat ring. I think that's pretty nuts, but people would have been into it. I'm not sure how many of those they would have made. I think it was just a small handful. Was that listed on here? Standard deluxe? No, it's not. But yeah, they communicated with these guys, all the royalties and whatnot, everything that they wanted to do as far as this release for all the systems. And the deal was supposed to be for, you know, all the current stuff, and then Dreamcast and 3DS, like I said. So they had a lot of back and forth. They sent the final, like, another financial draft back on March 29th to their contact at Sega. And then on March 30th, I'm just reading some notes from the discussions I've had with these guys. Like I said, I'm not really forming much of an opinion here. I'm curious what you guys have to say, because some of this could just turn into, it was just coincidence. If Sega has another company release a Dreamcast version and a 3DS version, which was like Pixelheart's thing here, I believe, was that they were really like, hey, we love doing stuff for older consoles. We want to release those as part of this deal. If they do something like this, then yeah, maybe it wasn't a coincidence, right? So on March 30th, they state that they did receive interest from, you know, with regards to like the finances and whatnot. And then, you know, sometime later, they finally got a hold of somebody who gave them more information. So they started not getting a lot of like back and forth. The emails weren't really coming through. And then that's when Sonic Central hit. Like I said, they communicated all this stuff with their contact at Sega. So they saw the Sonic Central and they were like, oh, like, cool, they're going to be working with us. So they're like, what's going on? We haven't heard back from you guys. We see you announced the project that we discussed, but we haven't heard anything from you. So I, you know, pretty much like, hey, I guess we're going through with this. Like, boom, Dreamcast version, 3DS version, that kind of thing, right? So they receive a reply after Sonic Central that, hey, you know, like it was a holiday in the US, couldn't really discuss things. And then they finally get another response. Oh no, the response they got before then was actually one of more interest, right? It was more of like, what would you need from us to go forward with this? Do you need ROMs? Do you need assets? How do you want to move forward? You know, if we decide to go along with this, like there was no agreement, like nothing signed. It was just a back and forth. But essentially, the contact at Sega, whomever they were discussing this with, they had some questions, just like what do you need from Sega for this project to work? And is the Dreamcast version only going to be sold through your store type of thing? And, you know, they respond to them. Like, I guess they were trying to get some of the source code for a couple of these games to be able to port it to the Dreamcast, you know, without like doing a full on, like just, hey, it's emulated type of thing. You know, I don't know all the ins and outs of this deal here, but they had a few exchanges between them. That's when they received the, you know, May 31st was a holiday in the US, the Memorial Day, right? So they got a response after that on June 1st, which was just a little over a week ago, stating that they did speak, that their Sega contact, they spoke to the licensing department to, you know, see about moving forward with this project with Pixelheart. And they were told, this is the email that I'm reading from, currently we're in the business discussion with one of your competitors and the opportunity is huge. Due to that, we have decided to pass this opportunity at this point with you guys. Sorry for bringing the bad news, but thank you very much for having interest in our titles. Now, that just kind of, I guess, you know, when you're a smaller company and you're proposing projects like this with a big company like Sega, and there's a lot of back and forth talking about finances, forwarding all this stuff out, coming up with logos and concepts and whatnot, and then to see what you discussed up on screen right in your face and then be like, oh wow, like, I guess we're going forward with this, and then having that communication. Well, what do you need if we do go forward? And then ultimately hearing like, no, we went with somebody else. And it was like, who came up? I mean, let's just be honest and straightforward. Sonic Origins is a generic name, but it works. Is it possible that Sega had already thought of this name prior? It's possible. Is it possible that Pixelheart said, hey, these are the names that we're thinking of? Sonic Origins sounds pretty cool. Boom, this is the project that we're proposing. And then Sega saying, that sounds interesting. But, maybe they didn't like the finances behind it. Maybe they shopped around a better deal prior to Sonic Central. Something, I don't know. Could it all just be a big coincidence? It just seems odd for the people at Pixelheart to be seeing this and then bringing it up, like, to me and other people that they've discussed this with. My contact that I have with them, who I've spoke to for the past few years about things. So this wasn't just like, oh, I hear something's going on, give me the details. It was just kind of a back and forth conversation about this stuff going on. But for them, being a small company and then just all this just falling in the, out in the open, that boom, it's a project that's being worked on. Thanks for talking to us about it, but we're not going with you. I mean, what do you guys think on that? Ultimately, in the end, Sonic the Hedgehog is owned by Sega. They can do with it as they please. The idea of releasing a compilation of Sonic games is not an original, unique idea. Re-releasing them on the Dreamcast and the 3DS in special limited edition bundles is kind of a neat idea that you typically wouldn't think Sega would do. So if this stuff does wind up coming out from another company, like how many companies really do this stuff with these older re-releases, limited run games, Pixelheart? There's not that many who do this. A lot of companies do like the limited Switch games and stuff like that. But as far as older games go, yeah, there's not that many people out there. So who is Sega partnering with if they do release this on old school consoles? That's what I'm curious about. I thought this was neat, and it would have been a really big opportunity for Pixelheart. I don't have like any kind of monetary relationship with these guys. I've never reviewed any of their products or anything. It's just I've had communication with them over the years, and I found this story pretty interesting after the initial, talking about it, and I kind of brushed it off at first because I was like, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Sega owns that. They do with it as they please. Did you guys like emulate the game a certain way and then give it to Sega and Sega took it? Like, that's not necessarily the case. It's just the Sonic Origins idea. And maybe in the future, if we see this come to fruition, then yeah, maybe it's not a coincidence. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thought this was an interesting one to discuss. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Peace out. Bye-bye. Big ass thumb butt in your face. And boom.